We did. So I was hoping you were going to pitch me on the way up, just to really set precedence for the side.
Did he ignore it, Jason?
No.
You asked about pitching.
That was the hint. That was the hint.
Floor 2.
Okay, good observation. Super pitch, 17-second pitch. So this whole concept, right, this whole model around an elevator pitch was actually literally happened in New York when the venture capitalists and private equity guys would get in the elevator like we did tonight. You didn't know who I was. I quickly asked who you were, and I asked you if you were pitching. Like, that's really kind of good communication from an entrepreneur that's looking for funding. Why is this guy asking my pitching? Maybe there's something more to the question. But the point is, and it literally was me right up the elevator. It's 30 seconds in New York because they have those big buildings, right? But that's the 30-second elevator pitch is the magic pitch. Like, hook me in 30 seconds. Like, we're gonna do like 2 minutes tonight just because it's really, really hard to do 30 seconds. So, my kind of comments are 30 seconds is not a lot of time. What I want to hear as an investor, what is the problem you're solving? What is the solution that you provide? And how do you get distribution? How are you going to blow this thing up? Like, if those 3 things in 30 seconds you should be able to talk about. If you think about, I got 30 seconds and cover those 3 things, and then if I'm still asking questions going back and forth, that's like a really good thing. So, yeah, just keep that in mind. Problem, solution, and how you're going to get distribution in 30 seconds. So.
Just to reiterate the first point on getting people's attention. So I've had a long, busy day. My first appointment this morning was 6:30 downtown, which means I got up before I wanted to get up. And it was down here, I've been working all day, missed lunch, okay? You know, and my eyes have been by minutes when you drag, which means about 10 seconds into that, my mind was somewhere else and I came back for the last 10 seconds. So you lost me in the first 10 seconds, and I came back because I was looking at my timer and it's almost 2 minutes, I'm like, crap, I better listen to what he said. So, because of my short attention span, I had no idea what you're talking about.
Okay.
So, but I'm sure it was really good.
Halfway through, you agreed to fund it. Good comeback.
So it was a good narrative about what you were doing, but so a few things. One is, in the early stages, all that matters to me is team, right? Because a good team can make a good idea into a company, and a good team will realize that the idea isn't that great and they're good enough to pivot into something else. But if you have a good idea with a mediocre team, then they can kill a good idea, right? So you got to establish credibility immediately with who you are, what you've done, and why you're the guy to be pitching this. And then the second is you went through that narrative. Like, I didn't know if it was a good idea for the neighborhood or for the world, right? So quantify the opportunity a little bit. That goes a little bit to distribution, that sort of thing. We were talking about that. How big is that pain or opportunity, right? And then how are you going to scale it?
How can I combine what you said with introducing the team and credifying myself, but also get invited to the 30-second problem solution distribution?
For me, that's what hooks me.
Yeah.
The team first.
A little bit how you do that is, you know, if you have 1 minute, so I personally think every entrepreneur should have like a 30-second elevator pitch, a 1 minute one, a 2 minute one, 5 minute deck, and a 10 minute deck, right? Maybe not this early, but at least the first few. And so, you know, it's problem, solution, you know, team, distribution. You should be able to say each one of those in 1 or 2 sentences. You should be able to explain the problem in 1 or 2 sentences, your solution in 1 or 2 sentences, with something that, you know, hooks me so I can understand it and understand, like, here we've got this experience, you know, it's simple and easy. A lot of times when you're living and breathing your startup, you have a really hard time condensing down what your life and your passion is into like 6 or 7 sentences, right? Because it's what you love and what you believe. So it's hard to condense that down and make it, you know, so you can convey it in that short amount of time. But if you think, you know, I've got 1 or 2 sentences to say this, and if I can't write it out so someone can, you know, read it and understand it, it's probably too long. And it's, you know, you've got to figure out a better, easier way to say it. Just think of that limit, 1 or 2 sentences for each of those things, and then you can get through what you need to. You'll spend too much time elaborating when they don't need to. So with your elevator pitches, write them down. They're short. Write them down exactly. You can read it. Have other people read it so they can understand it. Yeah.
Just one last thing on the elevator pitch. The outcome I believe you're trying to achieve is for me to go, I want another meeting. I want to talk to you more. That is interesting. That's awesome. We got to follow up. Let's go to lunch. That's the outcome you're trying to achieve. Okay, so I don't need the whole pitch. Let's go to lunch and you give me the whole pitch. So that's kind of the magic.
Two things I think you need to do to get the next meeting. One is you need to describe where you're at, right? Is this an idea? Is this a product you have? Is it a company you have? Where is it in its evolution? You got to understand that before you're going to get the next meeting. And the other is, what are you looking for? How can I help you? Do you need money? Do you need a co-founder? Do you need, what is it you're looking for that I can help you with? Those two things have to come out. Good job.
Good, thanks for taking
Good. Okay, David Harward. We have David Harward. That's another one that signed up in advance and haven't showed up. Okay. Scott Curtis, you're up.
I'll let the audience guess whether he's in relation with you or not. What do you think?
Ready? Go.
So I brought notes, okay. My name is Scott Curtis. I'm seeking $25,000 and a technical co-founder for an idea that I have. I've spent the last 8 years working in for-profit education legion, and I've seen firsthand that even while the government is cracking down and they're making strides in privacy, lead verification, scoring, there's no tool that exists out there for a media planner to take in the different ideas, the different potential outcomes that you want from marketing, whether it's reach or a contact or a graduate or someone who donates to your school. To track those things, there's no sort of standardization in that industry as well. Everybody comes up with their own system. Generally, they're done in Excel. Marketo did a study in 2014 said 89% of all organizations manage their media plans through spreadsheets. So 89%, and they're mostly being managed by junior employees in Excel. So there's obviously a lot of room for error. And as I said, there's no standardization because everybody thinks that their use case is unique when really it's not. Kind of all going through the same path on their way through school. The time and money that's lost through the errors and inefficiencies that this kind of poorly created system is generating is huge, and the opportunity there is for the best providers get almost unlimited budgets from these schools. If you become one of their top 2 or 3 providers, then they're going to lift your budget from you. You can generate as many leads as you want. And if you can do that and continue to improve your enroll rates and graduation rates, then you've done a pretty magical thing for them. So the business model that I've seen companies like this familiar with is generally a volume-based tiered pricing model where they go anywhere from 20 cents to 45 cents per lead that they analyze. So even just for the companies that are around here, let me flip my page. One school that's generating 65,000 leads a month, if we were charging them 20 cents just for each lead, which is a very low price compared to what they're used to, that's $13,000 in recurring revenue monthly. If you have one client the size of Helix Education, which is in town that used to be Datamark, you're looking at $50,000 a month or $600,000 annually, and those are just 2 companies. So my plan is to develop a very base version of the service that allows a media planner to take in certain, maybe a ceiling and a floor, and provide different outcomes based on the needs of the client, and hopefully turn that into kind of a more full-fledged service that brings in other data sources. So really what I'm looking for is kind of a technical co-founder and some help this, the two of us build this thing, take it to some of the agencies and schools around here, and see if we can get some clients. Thanks.
Nice job.
A little long.
A little long. The elevator got stuck.
Yeah.
We're good. So, is when I really understood the problem was when you threw out the quote. What was it? Say that quote to me again.
89% of all organizations manage media plans and spreadsheets.
Okay. Lead with that. And right off the bat, did you know that 89% of media organizations, manage their, marketing solution with a spreadsheet? How crazy is that? Multi-million-dollar organizations managing with a spreadsheet. How crazy would it be, how awesome would it be if you come up with a solution to fix that? An automated solution to track leads and bring leads to these companies that are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a year and sometimes a month for these leads. Is that a product you want to invest in? Yeah. Right? So a little overkill on the problem. You have that problem right there, and then I'm interested, I'm bought in, and then your solution, you just say, automated solution to fix it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
So I like to use some data in there. That was helpful for me, though I was left trying to quantify it, right? Okay, so those two customers are like 13,000 and 50,000, so it's 63,000, but how many are there, right? So where I immediately went is Italian restaurant, which is lifestyle business, right? Which I'm that much interested in, right? But you used some data, so that was good. So I like what you said, Rob. I would start maybe a little differently. It's just a style thing, right? But I want to immediately know how many customers there are potentially and how many billions they're spending doing it on a spreadsheet, right? Because then that communicates to me huge opportunity, super broken area, and you can come in and change that, right? And then the one thing I would never ever say in a pitch is, hopefully, right? You want to communicate, you're going to put your forearm on the larynx of that industry and take it down, not hopefully.
So I can answer your questions. There are almost 5,000 for-profit educations in the United States, and another study says that when they asked 100 different universities and multiple people within the university how much they spend, 33% of them said over $5 million a year. So, that's 33 out of 100, and there are almost 5,000. And I have very first-hand experience with a couple here that know kind of what it would be and like what those ranges are. So, and that's really only within education, because a media planning tool is good for everyone, right? And the only thing that would make this specific to education point of field is basically that you're gathering and work practice.
Yeah, so if you want to immediately hook me, you open with there's over 5,000 institutions spending about $5 billion a year on lead gen. 89% of them are doing it in an Excel spreadsheet, and I'm going to change that. It's like, whoa, yeah, tell me more.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds like a much bigger idea that way. That's good. I was going to say it's get the big idea out first.
Okay.
It's good. Thanks.
I want to drill down because we talked about because of the sequence thing. I'm last. I went for last. On the so agree with everyone, right? So big problem, very clear. Big market, very clear in the problem statement. What I was waiting for was the value proposition. Because even if you have a big market and you have a spreadsheet, when you tell me 89% of these groups are doing it on spreadsheets, you know what that tells me? Not a problem. Not a problem. If 89% of the world is doing this, what makes you think it's a problem? Because if it was that big of a pain point, they wouldn't be doing it on a spreadsheet. So now I'm like, I take the opposite view, right? Contrarian view as an investor going, what's your value prop? If you would have said, big market, 5,000 institutions, right? Big problem, 89%. We piloted this in three test cases, and we have saved these companies hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands for some percentage dollars. It brought me the value prop. It brought that up to the table. Now I'm kind of leaning forward in the conversation. conversation versus kind of leading.
So if you don't have that, if you're just in an idea,
Go test it, go validate. You got an idea, get feet in the street, sure you are. We can go do it together.
okay.
Tomorrow, we can go out and a couple institutions, we can describe the concept to them, what we would do, we can do time motion studies and kind of figure it out. We can get some hypothesis put together and run some experiments to validate the hypothesis, set some metrics, track it, measure it, up to 10, absolutely. You can do that without writing one line of code. And that's the whole lean startup principles and model.
And without spending a dollar.
Yep.
And I mean, the truth is I have a lot of experience personally knowing that the time you spend in that, you make one error in your entire spreadsheet.
Yep.
And then your client wants you to maybe change it on the fly. Good luck.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really, it's kind of the media planner's exclusive problem.
Yeah,
right?
that's a good point. So we just want the buyer, right, to be, were you in a buying position or were you in a worker position?
Oh,
Okay, so what we really want to hear is that evidence, that validation from the buyer to go, this is going to save enough money that I will pay $1,000 a month for that service. Okay.
Question in the back.
Yeah, I just came out of an ad tech project. The other thing I'd be interested in knowing is the quality of the lead and what kind of expected conversion rate. I imagine your system can provide a much better conversion rate too, which would be a higher quality lead than what you're getting from the spreadsheet. That'd be correct?
That'd be correct. The trouble is that it really varies so much between institution to institution that really kind of that stuff is being done by the vendors that are giving the leads. And I don't really want to take that on.
Okay.
I'd rather actually leave that to them to become experts at doing that. Or I simply say, here's a couple of ways that we could spend your money. Which one do you want? Do you want to reach most people? Do you want most people to start school? Do you want most people to graduate? Hopefully it's graduate because that's where it all ends. But maybe they need to raise some money in the next 6 months, so it's start school.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Second no.
Okay, Steve, you're up. Yep. Microphone.
Hi guys, I'm here and I'm gonna pitch you a project that I haven't pitched for 3 years. So, today, who hasn't finished at least one task? Raise your hands. Cool. That's why you haven't been taught when you were really young to finish your task, that finishing task is really good for you. That's why we've created an application called Habits. Habits is a mobile app that teaches kids 3 to 2 years old to finish their tasks. How do they do that? They play in the app, their mothers and fathers create the tasks, and kids slide the screen to finish the task. After each task is finished, kids get rewarded. That's how kids will remember that finishing task is very good. We did that, we built an app, we had more than 90,000 downloads on Android platform, we had around 4,000 downloads on iOS platform. We managed to secure the investment of 30,000 euros, that's about $35,000, and spent about 15k euros of our money to do that. Our next stage is building plush toys that are connected to the mobile app. Why? Because kids are not always playing with mobile phones or tablets, and usually parents do not want kids to play with the mobiles all the time. They want to go them to the real world to play with the real toys. How to do that? Playing with a plush toy that will tell your kid at 9 p.m. or 8 p.m., okay baby, it's time to brush your teeth and go to sleep. If you do that, your toy will say a song or something else. That's the next step that we want to do. In our team, we have 4 people. 2 of them are educators. One of them is educating kids from 3 to 8 years old, and the other one is a designer who is doing similar thing, but to the older kids. I'm a developer and CEO of the company. What are we looking for? We're looking for 200k to start building the prototypes of the toys. Thank you.
So there was a lot of awesome there. I love that you immediately engaged everybody because that brought them into what the problem was and helped them relate to it. And me as an investor, like, hey, I've done that, right? I would have gone immediately next to, I'm the CEO and an engineer, right? So that it gives more credibility to what you're saying about the app. Because that came later, but I was like, so what do you do? And the other thing you said at the beginning and it was probably just because Steve was here. Do you guys know each other?
Nope.
Oh, so at the beginning.
Oh, is that good or bad?
So
We're Steve's. Well, we met about 10 minutes ago, but yeah.
So you know each other. So you made a comment about I haven't pitched this for a few years. And where I immediately went there is, oh, that idea.
Yeah.
Right, like this, but then you followed up with later, like, oh yeah, we built it, we got 90,000 downloads, and then you went into the next phase and that sort of thing. I think as an investor in next steps, I would want to understand why just 90,000 downloads, what you've done for those, what the plan is to do more, because that's your communication channel into users for this other product, and what sort of research you've done around what the cost is for that. But it was great that you called out the amount too, so lots of good stuff there for me.
I was hoping to hear a little bit more about what the strategy is to monetize it. How are you gonna make money? What are you gonna charge for it? What's it cost? You know, that sort of thing. You got the answers?
Yep.
Right.
Of course. So, since we're from Croatia, we cannot use Google Merchant account and sell stuff on the Google Android on the Play Store. Those 5,000 downloads on the iOS has 1.7% of conversion rate from users to customers. And for the mobile app, the next steps are creating new apps, new games inside the app, so users will buy them on a regular basis. Besides that, for the plush toy, the thing is that it has to be like hardware as a service, with new services made in control by the cloud.
Right. Answer.
Okay, so first, I liked your style. So style, aggressiveness, loud, a little in my face, right? I like that. That's good. Because I know if you're going to do that in your pitch, you're going to do that with your customer base, you're going to do that with your employees, you're going to do that with your partners, you're going to do that with your board members. I like that. Okay, so that observation from a stylistic approach is really, really healthy when you're trying to get someone's attention. I also would like to have an offline conversation with you. I've invested in a company that does the first part that you're talking about. They actually went through Boom Startup in the earlier stages before we had our EdTech Accelerator program. They were called Champion Village. And we have a few alumni in the house that can talk, but I'd love to share some lessons learned. We actually shut them down about 18 months ago. So it's a good opportunity to learn from their failures. The plush toy company, we invested in a company called Oobly that was just acquired by Smart Toys on that whole, right, bringing in the physical product, especially the plush toys. We actually just found out last week we're spinning that back out of the company that acquired them. So there's some good, interesting lessons learned on that. So I'll have to share that with you separately. But basically, back into what Steve was talking about, I really think how do you make money on this is really, really, the monetization model, I'm just going to echo that, is really, really important. And so don't forget that piece. And if you don't know what that is, take that off the table with me as investors, and we've not figured out our monetization model. However, we have not 90,000, right? You have to have millions now. You know, it used to be 100,000 downloads in the App Store, then it went to 1 million. Now, 1 million is 10 million. If you're not doing 10 million downloads, you're not sexy. Okay?
The question I had is, when you talk about 90,000 downloads, then I got the impression that failed, and so you weren't able to monetize it, you weren't making it work, so you came up with the plush toy. And to maybe think, well, the first idea sucked and failed, actually. It's not even really viable without the second product. So yeah, I'm just a little confused on kind of where we're going to invest in, you know. If the first one didn't work, why are we even talking about it? And you know, maybe it works connecting with the plush toy, and I really see the connection. Yeah. But I will echo the, you know, the presentation, and it got my attention. You know, followed it all the way through, and worked my short attention span.
By the way, he was not going to pitch when he came here tonight. I talked him into pitching.
Way to go.
Yeah.
So to that failure piece, failure to me is awesome, right? As a company, if you're not failing consistently, you're going to die as a company. So his point, though, is well taken in that it felt like a fail, but there was no what did I learn from it, and this is what we're doing kind of thing. So that would have been super helpful, and then it would have made that failure really impactful and you really smart.
Yep.
Right, thanks. Good job, Steve. Right, next is it Dorinda? Right.
Hi, I'm Darul. We are building a customer engagement platform. What we are doing is, so we are living in an age of participation. That means the millennials, they actively engage with the brands on social media. They react, they engage with the social media through the comments. They share things on social media. Even they are going to a restaurant, they take the foods and share some Instagram tweet about them. So the business side, so there is a big challenge to build engagement between these different channels. So what we are doing, we are building a platform to aggregate different channels into one platform, like social media, e-commerce, and the in-store activities into one platform, and pack these different activities in one platform. So the customer side, they can download our top-notch mobile application, and they can sign up with their favorite loyalty platform, and they can engage with different doing fun activities. So let's say Starbucks is our customer. So if I am talking to future, I can go and check in the Starbucks store, and I can collect the points, and I can share about their foods, and I can tweet about them, and I can collect the points. So this is a fun, it's like a game. And the business model is we are charging based on the transaction. Transaction means redeeming a point, and earning a point is a transaction. And so we are giving a free quota, and if they are exceeding more than 1,000 transactions, they can go through our package base. And our customers are small and medium scale businesses. And the next stage, we are targeting offering this as a white label product. So we are targeting big brands on that stage. So our team, I'm the founder. We have 6 people. 5 years in Sri Lanka. I'm the founder, and we have 2 technical backend developers. We have a UI and UX designer, and we have a gamification specialist. He's based in Spain. He has 2 years experience in game designing. So we are expecting 100,000, 100K USD investment to the next year. Thank you.
I think I understand what you do, but I'm not 100% sure. I would say like a gamified point system for retailers, right? And so you build a network of these retailers, and you have the game can be played and the points can be collected among between different retailers. So you sort of have an ecosystem of these point gathering ideas, right? Doesn't that already exist?
In Sri Lanka, no.
Sri Lanka, no. I think it exists here. I think there are already several networks like that in the US. Maybe not Sri Lanka.
Yes, but I have gone through the most of the application, but they are being purchases, but we are trying to do the different channels, like different channels like social media, e-commerce,
Right.
and purchase in-store activities, because most of the people are focusing on purchase. And
What was missing for me is what's the key differentiator between what you do and what all these other competitors do? Because it seems like something that I've already seen in, I don't know, half a dozen networks already.
okay. So what we are doing, so our gamification model, based on the more brand narrative, and also we are giving the customized the platform for the sales. So then I can create more e-commerce activities and push it through the platform. So this is based on the call. So this is not like a predefined thing. So they can customize the platform according to their business goals. So what we are doing is they can design the platform, they can design the loyalty program based on their business goals.
And you just provide all the tracking of the points.
Yes, we do.
So you're not actually facilitating the commerce in any way,
Sorry.
the purchasing
No.
of items or anything like that. Okay. I mean, I think I understood. I just think it already exists.
So really good point, Steve. I'm gonna just echo that again for everyone to understand this competitive landscape. So just like on a personal level, this is kind of hard, but I look at about 300 deals a month, right? 3,600 deals a year. I've been doing this this for 7 or 8 years. I've got over 35,000 deals that I've looked at. I've heard this at least 100 times, this pitch, 100. I'm sure. I can't count it exactly, but at least 100 times. So, what you have to do is take it off the table. You have to hit this. You should know, first of all, this is a very competitive space because you should have done your market research. And if you really believe it's different, take it off the table from the beginning. Talk about your competition. I want you to tell me your competition in almost an opening sentence in this very competitive landscape. And tell me what Steve was saying, why you're different. Because I kind of checked out after the first part of the conversation, so, okay?
I will say that I made all my money in all the companies I sold were somebody else was already doing it. There were 100 other companies out there, right? I didn't invent anything new. I just did it better. And I did it more efficient, and I made more money, and I sold them. So it's not necessarily a bad thing that people are in there. Yeah, you got to address it up front, and you got to tell them why you're better, why you're more efficient. You know, we talk to this many customers, they use these, they want to use us instead because of this, this, and this. And you can make it happen. Yeah, address it to why you're better. It's not a bad thing, but you've got to be better in order to get the business.
So I love that you talked about your team. I love that you talked about the opportunity. It was a good narrative. Quantify it, right? Give some numbers, start with that. And so that, echoing what these guys said, as soon as I heard that it was a loyalty program in the SMB space, I was like, oh, that's tired, right? And so you've got to immediately hit us with why you're doing it differently and how all the money being spent, but why it's so inefficient. You're gonna like make it more efficient somehow, to Rob's point that he's done, right?
I do like it that you're from Sri Lanka. Are you from Sri Lanka? We had a company in Boom Startup last year. Donna, she's from Sri Lanka. She went through Boom Startup. So, yeah, we're like people from Sri Lanka. We put money into it. So, yeah.
She moved her team here.
Yeah, that's a point for you.
Actually, we are focusing on the Southeast Asia. Because we are development in Sri Lanka. We have the talent there. That's why we increase in Sri Lanka, but we are targeting the Southeast Asia.
Nice.
I will say, I think you hit just about all the elements of a pitch too. The only one you didn't hit really is competition. Right?
And if that stuff doesn't exist in Sri Lanka,
Sri Lanka
and you're talking to us in America, it's like you guys do this here. It's not being done there in the markets. So we're going to do it.
Actually, we are targeting Sri Lanka, so we are trying to place this product in the Singapore market as well. So we have done some testing there and computer landscape, but still we have a chance like the white label product, high-end brands. So there are some couple of applications for serving the small and medium scale, but high-end scale there is no such platform. So we are targeting the white label product in that market.
Good luck with that. Well, thank you. Good job. All right. Who's next? Let's see. Zach? That's you.
Just so you know, I met Zach like 6 minutes ago and I've already committed 80,000 to this deal.
I hope that's true.
We have that on video, right? I think that constitutes a contract in the state.
So my name is Zach, and before I start, I just want to do a quick caveat, which is that Rob actually convinced me to do a pitch about 15 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, before we got started. Came here to do some networking, so I came here a little bit woefully underprepared. This is rough around the edges, I do apologize, but I'll give it my best shot for 2 minutes. I represent Bloom. We're a digital content company that connects talented undergraduate students in videography, graphic design, photography with small and medium-sized businesses who don't have a huge marketing budget. We started out as a collection of freelancers, actually, 3 of us from Westminster College, 4, I lied. And we put about $500 into this LLC. We decided, why are we freelancing when we can make it easier on ourselves? And if we do this, we're going to get a great experience running a company. We'll walk away with a portfolio. We ended up about 6 months into it with a little over $15,000 in asset value. We were working part-time and maybe 15 hours a week. and we are now exiting. We're going to rebrand as Bloom. Our goal is to create a web platform that lets us port it to a bunch of other campuses. We'd like to evaluate different opportunities in web design and UI UX particularly. And we want to create a system for vetting other students at different service quality tiers and say, you're this good, we can provide your service at a perfect price for any business. Especially when we make it really easy for them to come in, book the job, get a consultation, and do it without having to worry about trying to track down a freelancer, evaluating their different opportunities and saying, well, maybe this is the right guy. We've realized that we can do professional work for roughly half the cost of a professional agency or video production company who's graduated college, maybe they've gone to film school. Students right now are really good at what they do. And most of them aren't necessarily very good at creating contracts or protecting themselves. We'd like to be the middleman. We'd like to provide them work opportunities, portfolio piece, and let them come out of school as a really, really effective job candidate.
I think the best part of that pitch was the end, by the way. Good energy, though.
What's funny is I wrote down like a flow and totally forgot it.
Yeah. That's what happens. Okay, so excellent job, dude, for not just walking in to networking. You're up pitching. What a great way to network with the audience, right? By pitching. So here's why I wanted you to pitch. And I think this is a really important lesson learned for anyone who's going to pitch, an investor, and that's how do you resonate with me, right? Because as an investor, I want to be able to really understand that problem so you don't have to tell me and the solution and blah, blah, blah. I want to connect with you real quick. And you didn't know this, but tonight you connected with me real quick without even pitching me.
Well, that gives me a warm feeling inside. Thank you.
You bet. Now, let me tell you why. At Boom Startup, we have this issue. We're doing video, we're turning all of our content into an online accelerator, and we have this problem of capturing content from all of our mentorship things, blah, blah, blah. Even like events like tonight, this is very educational, like we should be sharing this with the rest of the ecosystem across the state of Utah and across the world that's not here tonight. And so this problem, we have at Boom Startup. So like, you were telling me what you were doing, and I'm going, this is a problem that we have in our company. Wow, I need this service, I need the solution, right? And so the message is, find out when you're gonna pitch an investor, or you're gonna attract a mentor, or whatever, find out their background and figure out how you can make that connection. And you just did it naturally tonight, so thank you for pitching.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a nice job. The one comment is, you know, whenever someone, you know, is gonna golf, well, I've got a sore shoulder before I golf, so if I golf bad, you know, it's because of my shoulder.
That
you
makes
know,
two of us.
Yeah. You know, even when you're unprepared, you know, just go with confidence. You know, you don't need to, you know, make excuses why you might not. You know, I would just do that. And you know, I think it's actually a really killer idea. A lot of people like to fund and drive business to student operations. And there's crowdfunding. If you want to get education paid for, you can crowdfund your education. And you got a small percentage of your income going forward. People like to do it because they like to fund that. So a lot of people would actually, I think you could go out and validate from employers and from different organizations that they would look for your students to employ them. And that would be a great addition to your pitch if you could find, you know, 5 to 10, you know, mid-sized, large employers who say, yeah, I've got projects that I would hire students for if they met this qualification for this amount. And you said that would have another layer of validation to what you're doing would give a lot more interest. Nice job.
So Rob's point is sage about the opening, right? Instead open with, I wasn't even planning on pitching tonight, but I'm grateful for the opportunity. That communicates all the stuff that you wanted to, but in a positive way, and I know you can roll it any time, right? So to your pitch, super articulate, super knowledgeable seemingly on the space. I love that you guys were doing stuff as a group of friends and learned from it and was like, hey, wait, we could make a business out of this, so let's pivot and build this. And I think you did a good job describing-ish what you're gonna do. But again, back to the quantifying it, right? Like, is it a Westminster College project, right? Is it a massive opportunity? That's the thing that I've got to hear.
We want to be on every campus.
So tell me that. There's 4,178 campuses. this is my opportunity with that. We think we can penetrate those number of campuses over this period of time. This is going to be tier it out, right? Like we think we're going to be fastest to adopt in these types of campuses. So we're going to build a base there, and then we're going to move on to the larger sales cycle ones, et cetera. But overall, good.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So why wouldn't I just use Fiverr for graphic design piece? It kind of makes sense for the video because you need someone here, but for graphic design, I can get someone to like get my project done in less than 24 hours for $5.
Sure. You know, that's a question we get all the time. And again, particularly we've been doing video production. That's been mostly our specialty between the three of us. We are capable of doing all of it. But what we've noticed, especially myself as a freelancer with graphic design, is that if you're going through Fiverr, you may be spending $5. It may be getting there overnight, but it's going to be off-brand. It's not going to be exactly what you're looking for. And if you're working with someone face-to-face, you're going to make sure that you get exactly what you want.
I think that maybe for me, I just don't think that that's a swayable enough argument because I've had really good experiences on Fiverr. And again, the video thing works for me. And sort of you also have a precedent of that where, kind of the other way, where companies will try to get like superstar employees into school to get some training, additional training, maybe something more like that. This is just kind of the reverse, and I just don't know if it exists.
I'm going to be honest with you. I agree to some degree. I think when we put down all of our revenue kind of charts, the graphic design is really just a little piece of the pie. The video production has ended up being the biggest piece of the pie. Photography too, actually. If you have a really big photo library as a small business, you can repurpose it, you can use it for print ads, you can use it for billboards, great. Graphic design depends on your goal. If you're trying to do a series of designs, it makes a lot more sense to work face to face. If you're doing one social media graphic, Fiverr.com might be a better option. But if you've already got the face-to-face relationship, it's really easy to turn that around, especially if we have photos of your business.
Thanks, Zach. Good job. So I'd just like to give all of you guys who pitched one more round of applause. Great job.
Woo!
Anybody else is willing to jump up like Zach and
Give a pitch.
Open mic.
Open mic.
I'll give it a shot.
Gosh.
Awesome. So I get to kind of cheat because I heard all the the layout and the game plan for this. So I'm going to swing for it. What we are is we want to be let me rewind. Millennials have more discretionary income coming out of college than any other generation that has ever existed. Most of them don't understand the value of their money. They don't understand what it's worth, what it can provide for them, provide for their family in the future, provide for their lifestyle that they want. Most of them go out, they open expensive credit cards, getting the introductory 50,000, 30,000 miles, looking to take care of these, take advantage of these promotions. What they do is they start overspending. They don't understand what the real cost of their student loans are. What we are is we're a group of, there's 2 finance guys, 1 operations guy, 1 technology guy, all waiting for an opportunity to launch what we would call lifestyle personal finance. Over several $100 billion opportunity with the banking industry. We don't want to just be a lifestyle personal finance. We want to try to basically open up and develop a bank that's going to be a multi-sided platform business model, going to generate free banking services, understanding people, about 40% of the millennial generation is actually trending toward freelancers, helping them set up S corporations, to see tax benefits, to understand the entire landscape of what their dollar, what their talents can provide them, not just the money, but provide them the lifestyle they want. And what we're looking for is we're looking for an investment, and we're looking for a business mentor that has taken an idea, a solid idea that has fundamentals around it, good people, and that can help us scale and build a corporation.
I was giving the introduction.
Yeah.
So here's Rob.
I'm looking at you.
all right, so I said, nice job for just jumping up on the fly. That's really impressive. I just don't think, obviously, not many people were willing to do it. You know, with the explanation, just back to basics. When I work with people on their elevator pitches, you know, when I first started, I'd say they're trying to, you know, explain it to me very simply so I can understand it. Sometimes that works. When I say, go find a 12-year-old, and if a 12-year-old can understand your elevator pitch, then you're on the right track, right? I started to understand it. You went off in a few different directions. When I thought I was understanding, then it went somewhere else. I got a little confused. Multi-sided was a very, very good description of that. But you know, to make it so that we can understand in a short elevator pitch, find a 12-year-old. If they understand it, from there you can add in a little bit more complexity, right? And this really happens. It usually happens when it's the technical co-founder or a complicated, you know, medical, you know, type product. They just get so involved it's hard to understand. So if you explain it to a 12-year-old, you're on the right track. If they don't understand it, you know, figure out how they can understand it, and then you can, you know, make it a little harder from there.
So I love that you just jumped up and pitched and didn't plan to, right? And that's key for everybody to understand. Like if you're starting a company, you could pitch at any time on the plane, in the bus, like on an elevator, hence the term, right? But you've always got to be ready to jump up and give a compelling pitch. I love your energy. I love that you hit a lot of the points that we talked about, which shows that you listen, which is really good. Two bits of feedback from me. One is, you started off with millennials have a lot of discretionary income. And I leaned to Rob and I said, isn't it student debt that they have? Right? So that was like that seems like bullshit to me, right?
Yeah, I've done research and I am, I've done the math. So
Yeah, so quote the research, right? And then the second one was, what you were talking about, I know is a massive space, but I don't know what you do.
Thank you so much for jumping up and doing it. I didn't think you were going to do that because you wouldn't sign up.
Yeah, you know, I was able to hear the kind of game plan. I was like, you know what, we'll go with it, which is why it's so unclear what I really want to do. Like I was going to go home and cheat right now. Okay, like I took notes. I was like, all right, I know I need to answer this in 1, 2 sentences, but you know.
So we'll be looking for you next time.
Exactly.
A slightly refined version of that pitch.
Yep.
I think Rob's advice is really good. If you can explain it to a 12-year-old, we'll be able to understand because that's about where we are. Thank you. Thanks everybody. Take the next 30 minutes or so, roam around, get to know everybody in the room before you leave. That would be my advice. Have a drink, have a little more food, and come back to the next event.
I will make one more ask is, Steve Kurt's been launching our Boom Startups Ed Tech program. I know we explained a little bit at the first, but you know, we try to do this, give back to the community, but I'm gonna make the ask, right? You guys know early stage companies that are in the education technology space, you know, shoot us an email, refer them to us, you know, anywhere from free revenue up to a couple $1 million in revenue. That's kind of the world that we play in. So if you have a company that's in there, or you know someone's in there, it really helps us out when we get those referrals. It just makes our job a lot easier. Trying to get people money, right? So it would be a little easier to find these companies, but it's not. We want to give you money, help us find those companies. So that's kind of my answer. Yeah, thank you very much.
Who's got feedback on Rob's pitch?
That was my pitch. Off the cuff. Yeah.
And one more time, thanks to Mastery Connect and Corey. So Corey and I met in a coffee shop like, what, how many years ago now? 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah.
When Mastery Connect was 3 guys.
3 or 4 people.
It was 3 guys, and we met in a coffee shop, and we talked about the ed tech space, and now they're our hosts.
Now we're 125, we've raised $30 million, but that actually raises a good point for everybody. Mentors matter, and Steve, what was cool about Steve, didn't really know us that well, but anytime we reached out to Steve, he was there. He also introduced us to a cool Thai restaurant down on State Street, about 7700 South, and that's where we would sort of pulled court, but he was really fantastic to bounce ideas off of, never asked anything, just gave us information, and it's really awesome. Thanks, Steve.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks for hosting us.
Opening up.
That was live.
That whole thing was live?
Yeah.
So we don't have anyone join the Periscope. So,
No, we had